Hey, Tom here, FlipAnythingUSA. So, here I am. Spring break is on us. I'm going to do a short meeting tomorrow. Those of you that are planning on coming into the meeting tomorrow, I just want to let you know right now, it's going to be a little bit brief. I've got actually some work going on, which I'll take you into the field and I'll show you that. Other things as well, of course, spring break, people are taking some time off and, doing the things with the kids and that sort of thing. So it's going to be a little bit of a slow week just because plans I got and other people that that are in the class. We'll still do a class, like I said, tomorrow. If you just got here, I've been buying and selling real estate for the last 42 years. Had a lot of success, and I like to share it. And now it's pretty cool because it's teachable. It's a teachable skill. And I'm having a lot of success with my students over the last 2.5 years. Got many new millionaires, so very proud of my students and the people that are in it. I've got a book, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. It's been a bestseller on Amazon, Audible, and Kindle. I urge you to take a look at it, take a look at the reviews, and get a copy. If you're interested in real estate, this is the place to start. A lot of people actually in my class have been feel they've been ripped off by a variety of different gurus, if you want to call them that, I hate to see anybody get ripped off. In fact, I did a webinar last night, and one of the gentlemen that was in the webinar, he was 26 years old, and he said that he got tied into something. I got to talk to him again, but anyways, he feels like he was kind of robbed. He was jaded. He said that the only good thing out of it is he did get his credit straightened out. He made some mistakes, I guess. But what he really felt like was he was robbed, his words, of his seed capital. And that is the worst thing that can happen. I don't care if you're 20, 30, 40. When you put your trust into somebody, and you shouldn't do that, number one. Never trust anybody that's taken $1 from you. Never trust anyone. It's just silly. It's not business-like. You got to be a business person. If you want to make money in real estate as an investor or anything else, you have to be a businessman first. And here's the difference. I've actually made my money in real estate. And so I don't look at the people that participate and buy into the mentorship in the book. They're not a target. They're not like, they're not what I'm trying to go after. And so, therefore, what happens is I'm not. I guess I would just say that it's kind of like a politicians. A lot of politicians, if they go in rich, they can't be bought. Well, that's kind of me. I can't be bought. I won't collaborate with a fraud or a fake. I won't. I just won't engage with it. I don't want to be. In fact, that's what you see. You see that I actually call a lot of people out on their methods or their claims, but if you're kind of a fraud, you can't do that, right? It's kind of like thieves stick together. A thief can't rat out a thief, and that's just how it is. And I'm not saying everybody out there is a thief, but there's certainly some that certainly are. And again, like I say, I have a difficult time even trying to collaborate with a lot of people, only because I don't like the product they sell. I can see, if you know what you're doing, and I don't care. And by the way, if anybody wants to call in, you can call in right here. You call in this number, and we can talk about anything you want to talk about. Lately I've been talking about the subject to. I don't like it because the people that promote it in general, not all, but in general, they don't really. There's just so many stupid statements from the people that are most fanatical by it that I just wonder what the hell are they thinking? They think equity's not important. They have these catchy phrases like the equity will come and the equity will go, but the cash will flow and flow. I guess it's catchy if you're not very bright, but it's not. It's a stupid statement, to be quite honest. Now, and I'm not saying that that's an absolute, because I can tell you right now, look, I own tens of millions of dollars in real estate, commercial, industrial, office, residential, and the variations of the values of those going up and down, I'm not really affected by them because they do have income. Now, you can be affected, but particularly, it depends if you have a fluctuating loan, that's varying, and that sort of thing. Which, by the way, if anybody wants to get, like I said, there's a phone number if you want to talk about this. So, hey, I'm going to tell you right now, I'll be right back, and we'll get into it.
It's the best thing I ever did.
All right. So, look, if you just got here, please hit that subscribe button. Mainly, just hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss my channel. I've got a book, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. I think I showed you that earlier. It's been a bestseller. Urge you to get that. There are a lot of people, you've been following me for many years, and you haven't taken action. And then for one reason or another, a lot of people have recently started taking action. And I welcome those new students. I think you're going to do great, because I only let the best and brightest into my class, and everybody will tell you that. You get screened. You don't just get to pay and join up. There's a lot of courses out there. They'll practically beg you to beg, borrow, and steal whatever money you can to get in the class. They oversell it and they over promise and under deliver. I don't do that, and I can honestly say that the harder you work, the luckier you will get, that's why I screen people. If you don't appear to have the passion, if I don't think you have the drive, I won't let you in, because I don't want you to drag down the rest of the class or drag down my reputation. And I've got a pretty stellar reputation right now for helping people. A lot of men, 30, 40, 50. 30, 40-year-old guys, let me just tell you, that's a great age to be. It's right when you're kind of right at where you're about to really get your stride or not. It's really going to get your stride or you're not going to. But it's because it's that moment in time where you realize you can reflect back. Say you're 35 years old and you reflect back on the last 15 years and you go, what do I got in the bank? What am I worth? What do I have? And then you start to go, gee, in another 15 years, see, 15 years ago I was 20, now I'm 35. This is how much money I got. This ain't enough. And even if I have twice this much or 3 times this much when I'm 50 in another 15 years, it ain't enough. It ain't enough. It ain't enough to raise a family well. You're not going to have your house paid off. You're not going to put your kids through college. You're not going to be able to do a lot of things that is what is the American dream. And I like to talk about this openly because I'm not a fraud. I'm not somebody that will take advantage. And in fact, you have a tough time actually getting into my class. Now, look, I have a free webinar every Thursday, 7 p.m. I may be out of town this Thursday, but I'm going to do it. I'll do it if I have to do it from my phone. And that's the beauty is when I do a webinar, it's not a clown show. It's not like it doesn't feel like you're in Home Shopping Network. I've actually popped into one, and it was like Home Shopping Network, and they're going back and forth. Okay, Sally, what do you think? Oh, I don't know, Chris, what do you think? And and then just kind of a stupid, just a really silly thing. Anyways, look, if we got some people watching here, jump in, man, make a phone call. That's the number right there, 424-866-7929. The topic on here, I talked about subject to, the sub-to problems, okay? They say subject to, and like I say, I hear these silly things about, like the cash flow and the equity's not important. I ticked off some sub-to lovers, I guess, on a Facebook post that I put out, and I was just amused by the reaction. It was so. I mean, I kind of feel, if they were one of my students, I'd be embarrassed, quite frankly, because of the stupidity that was coming out of them. But I got a lot of great direct messages. I got actually some people joined my mentorship, and I have other people that are quite bright, and they're going to do well. And actually, one of them that's in another course, he actually told me that he got into a sub-to, and I'll just tell you what he told me. He said he got into a subject to. Now, I'll give him credit. He actually did this one right. He understood that you want to make your money on the purchase. You want to have equity. And so he got in, and there was quite a bit of equity. And he basically had the person that he was buying the property from deed the property over into an LLC that he now controlled. So it was in their name. He controlled it. Now, this is one of the problems. This is the thing that was always underrepresented and not discussed with the people that promote subject to. The person that has the loan, that now is kind of basically handing off the responsibility of the payments of the loan, they're relieved maybe they're relieved that, okay, good, you're going to make my payment and you're going to make the delta between what you rent the property for and what I owe on it. Okay, great, good for you. But here's what happens. That person, when they try to go buy another property, or this is what can happen, this is what happened in this person's case, when they go to buy a property, they're up to their teeth in debt. They have no credibility. They really can't get anything. In other words, because when they go to the bank, they'll say, well, what's this loan you have for $250,000 or $300,000 or whatever it is against this asset that's only worth, say, maybe $350 or something like that. It's not a lot of equity. The bank doesn't feel real comfortable about that. And they're going to go, oh, well, I sold that. Well, then we show that you still owe the money. Well, I did this subject to thing, and this guy is paying me, and I'm making the mortgage, or he's making paying the mortgage for me. Believe me, the bank is just going to think you're nuts, because they're not going to loan you any money, because they understand that as soon as those payments stop being made, you're going to go into foreclosure, and which is normal. Now they'll say, "Oh, listen, it doesn't matter because the remedy to that is we'll just deed it back." Well, who wants to buy an asset and then deed it back? I mean, right? Doesn't that kind of conflict with the idea of buying a property to make money? So that's what the standard thing is. Oh, it doesn't matter if you get caught. And let's think about that. If you get caught, I mean, just think about that, how that sounds on the surface. Do you want to get involved with something that they'll say, oh, they probably won't catch it, meaning you probably won't get caught. Well, and what we're talking about is an alienation clause. In 99% of all the loans that get made today, they have an alienation clause, or what we call a due on sale clause. And what that means is when you sell the property, you have to pay the property off. And when you transfer the deed, guess what? You have to pay the property off. It's not assumable. It's not assumable. And so you're kind of subverting the integrity of the agreement that you just made. So now you've breached your contract, which some people don't care, but I personally do. I don't want to breach my contract, and I wouldn't advise anybody do it. So they say, well, if we get caught breaching the contract, we just have to, there's a couple of remedies for it. We can deed it back to you, and then you can sell it back to me under a contract for deed. But it's, again, for the person in what I call the selling position, it's terrible for them because they still on paper look like they're up to debt to here on an asset that they have no interest in anymore, other than it's destroying their debt. And so what happened with this guy is he bought a property, and there was quite a bit of equity. I don't know the exact amount, but that's how he stated it. But basically, he made a deal. There was plenty of equity, but the person, a few months later, they came back and they said, hey, you need to pay this off. I can't buy anything else. I want to buy a home, and I can't because, my credit is basically used up. In other words, whatever their worth is to a bank, their just say bankability or the ability to borrow is like at zero because they've used up almost everything on this house that they no longer technically own, that somebody else is controlling. And so they grabbed a lawyer and they lawyered up and just said, hey, listen, you pay us off, and then they started threatening legal action. They could say, well, they can't really do anything. They agree to it. It's not true. They can drop the dime on themselves and tell the bank to foreclose, and then they'll force the situation where it'll be deeded back to them. And so these are the kinds of things that don't get discussed that should be. And it's not a foolproof, by the way. People say, oh, no, if they do catch you and you got to give it back, we'll just deed it back. Well, that's not for certain either. The only thing that really saves you on that is if you have a homestead. A lot of people don't understand. If you have a homestead's a very powerful protection. Like O.J. Simpson had a homestead, right? Convicted. I shouldn't say convicted. I guess he didn't get convicted, but he did get sued a lot later on, and I think they had some fines against him and judgments against him. They couldn't touch his home. They couldn't touch his retirement. There's certain things that are very well protected, and one of them is a homestead. So you can hold property in your name in a homestead, and it is very, very safe to do. Now, as you grow in and you have more and more properties, I got a bunch of properties and I have a bunch of LLCs and limited partnerships, which is basically the same basic kind of device, just minor differences. But it has all the rights of an individual entity that can hold property, like a person, kind of all the rights of a person. And so it's important when you want to own a lot of property. If you have young children and you want to kind of pass your wealth to them, you can gift wealth to them and put them into the partnerships. From the moment my kids are born, they started owning property, but they can't legally own property. The only way that they can actually own property is to own a piece of an LLC or a piece of a limited partnership, and that's how you can kind of pass wealth to them over the years. And then what's great about that is as you pass wealth to them, you can start to change the form of those assets. And that's what I always do is I buy land, I buy houses, I sell those and make profit, and then I buy other things, commercial, industrial properties. And when you get to a certain road, then you can kind of hold on to a lot of these things. Anyways, let's see what we got here. Anyways, so that's it. I just wanted to check in with everybody and say that, number one, for the people in the mentorship, tomorrow morning is it's going to be more of a brief in the field kind of a mentorship. It's spring break week, so I know a lot of you got plans anyways. We've already talked about that. But we got Joe here. Tom, live, been hearing that a lot of realtors are not selling houses because no one is buying houses because of the high interest rates. How does that affect you? It doesn't affect me. I can tell you, I'll show you a couple of houses I sold just recently. I mean, it does have an effect, but let me explain. Everything I buy under market. It doesn't matter if things are trending down or if they're going up. Whatever they are on day one that I purchase, I buy under market. So if I buy under market and let's say things are trending up, maybe I'll hold for a little bit and I'll keep a careful eye on what's going on. A lot of that is tied to interest rates. And, listen, I bought homes and I've just sat on them for a year. Let them sit empty. Maybe I do some minor fix up or maybe not much at all. Or maybe let a temporary person, live there, a temporary renter, live in it for a while. Because sometimes I'd rather just let a house sit empty for a year, just so the capital gains are going to go down after a year. It becomes they go down. So you have long-term and short-term capital gains, converts to a long-term capital gain after a year. So I don't feel that pressure in some cases, but I'll only do that if the economy and if the values are trending up. Now, if they're just at a flat line, or if they're going down, or even if they're going up, I usually just flip houses. I just sell them right away. So as soon as I buy it, I'm looking for a buyer, I sell it, and I make that delta between what I paid and what it's worth or what I sell it for. And I don't try to squeeze every cent out of it. I try to just get close to the top of what it's worth, but I make it easy for somebody to buy. And then, but I want to stay on your question too, Joe. Joe, why don't you call in? It'll be a lot easier to talk to you. 424-866-7929. I think everybody else would appreciate the feedback. Yeah, I don't, I hadn't heard that, to be honest. I hadn't heard, the capital rates used to be 40% a long time ago, by the way. And I'm not even sure how much lower they are than that. I think they dropped to 15, and then they were 19 because of the Obama tax. Obama added, 4% for to pay for Obamacare. There's that's got tacked on. But I think what you're talking about, the Aztec, is I think you're talking about those, that is something probably Biden proposed, which that may just be a milker bill, by the way. If you don't know what a milker bill is, they throw shit out there in order to generate money as a favor to the opposing side so that they can pull money from their constituents and try to oppose something. So anyways, I don't take it very seriously. That will happen. Brian Gonzalez says, does Homestead lower your property taxes or school tax? Yeah, it can in some cases, Brian. You'll get, when you have a property that's Homestead, you'll pay a little bit lower rate. I mean, it's different, to be quite honest. There's no exact control across the country. But in general, what I've seen in different states is if you homestead a property, you can get your homestead exemption. You'll get a break on the school taxes. Sometimes if you're over 65, you won't have to pay the school taxes at all because your kids are grown. I mean, there's a different county to county. It's different. But in general, the homestead is good, Brian, just because it protects you. It protects you. If you have an accident and you hurt somebody and you get sued, the homestead is kind of protected. That's one asset they won't get. Now, they may get everything else you own, but they won't get that. Hey, Robert, glad to have you in here. Hey, why don't one of you guys call in? I'm glad you're in the chat. I'm glad to see it. I appreciate it. But if one of you want to call in, feel free to. But, yeah, Brian, by the way, Brian's in the class. Congratulations. You just got the house, right, Brian? Anyways, hope you close on that soon if you haven't already. Also got some great news for you guys in the class. Chris just made a killer deal today. He picked up a property that we guess is worth between $120,000, $150,000, and he got it for $42,000. And he's pretty ecstatic. He's very, very happy. So and I'm happy for him. That's a great guy. Chris. So just check this out. Chris is somebody in my class that's already made several $100,000, and maybe $500,000 now actually. But anyways, since he's since he just in the last month or last 6 months, he bought a lot for $100,000. He got offered $200,000 for that. He's holding out for $250,000. He just had somebody offer to buy it for or to do a trade for an upgrade on a property, which I kind of discouraged. But in the end, it looks like he's got it sold for $250,000. So he's going to make $150,000 on that deal, plus the one he just bought today, or he just got signed today. Hasn't closed it yet. The one that he got today for $42,000. It looks like he's going to make anywhere from $50,000 to maybe $120,000 on it. So very excited for him. Oh yeah, hey Brian, congrats. I'm glad you got it, buddy. Yep, yeah. So Brian just got his first house, and he's in the class, and a great guy. I'm really glad to see that happen for you, Brian. And what did he say? He said, "Now I need a second one." That's the secret to getting wealthy in real estate, folks. Is you got to buy two. One, for ultimate reasons. One to keep, right? One to live in, raise your kids in, be in the right neighborhood. You can give that stability to your children and yourself. And then the second one, though. Second one's most important, or just as important, because that one you get to resell for more. Because if you just have one house, think about it. You just have one house, and 40 years go by, and now you're ready to retire, and now you want to sell your house and go retire. Well, now you got to sell your house, but guess what? Everywhere you buy, everything's more expensive too, just like that house is. But if you have two, now you can sell your house, move to another area, using that money, maybe use it all or maybe use half of it. But then you got that second house. That second house is the one that gives you a big boost in your retirement, because now you got two houses paid for, one to live in and the other one to retire on. And I mean, that's the minimum. And listen, I've had damn near, I think I'm at about 100 and, I don't know, just around 200 properties. I'm not even exactly sure anymore. And I bought, probably 70 lots, and probably as many houses. And then I bought quite a few commercial, industrial, and office properties. And I'm happy to talk about any of those. If anybody wants to talk about any particular kind of property, I'll jump to one that I've owned, whether it's an apartment buildings, complex, or, whatever. You name it, retail, whatever. Anyways, and like I say, if anybody wants to call in, please do, and talk about whatever else is on your mind. So I don't know, anybody out there really crazy about Subto? Because what I see is the loudest voices when they defend it and talk about it. I say, okay, show me what you got, and then they go silent. It's like I even had a guy chime in my channel today, and he says, and this is like it's kind of a thing, like say, show me a HUD or you're a dud. And I'm like, okay, well, what kind of HUD do you want to see? Do you want to see one for residential, commercial, industrial, office, whatever? It doesn't matter. In fact, I can show you, I got about $1 million worth of HUDs right here. See these here? These are all deals I've done. These are all HUD. HUD is basically, you're basically the documentation for when you make your sale, what the owner, or what the buyer brings to the table, and what the seller walks away with. And that book there, I've got about $1 million in notes that are payable to me personally, just Tom, never in an LLC, Tom McKay. And all of those are pre-1990. In fact, the very last note in there is one that I made $295,000 on, and I made the deal in 1989, and when it closed in January of 1990. And that was one of the last properties in that particular area. In fact, it's the area that's behind me now to think about it. In fact, man, it's kind of distinctive. I can probably show it to you. Yeah, check it out. It's right here, Pear Blossom. I bought 70 acres here in Pear Blossom, and I paid $140,000, and I sold it for $520,000, and I did it in about 3 weeks. That was a very, very nice. It was just kind of a nice thing. So check that out. I was in 1989, so I would have been 27. I'd already made right at about $1 million right at that point, and then I went down and I was looking for a beach house, and I have an interesting story I like to share about the beach house that I talk about right on Ocean Drive. I ultimately did get my place on Ocean Drive, and I realized I picked the wrong Ocean Drive. It was great. It was beautiful. It was near Santa Barbara. It's on called Channel Islands. Beautiful view. Channel Islands. Big deep beaches. Used to be able to have fires on the sand for everybody got to stick up their ass in California and just try to make everything as unfun as possible. But it was cool. It was money. And I tell you, California is as horrible as the state is run. It does offer the most beautiful atmospheres you can imagine. I've laid in the sun and gone to the snow in the same day. They've got Big Bear, and then even better, they have Mammoth Mountain. If you haven't been, Mammoth is like the most incredible skiing there is. You got hot springs in Bishop. You've got the most beautiful terrain going from the high desert, low desert, and then the things that are offered at the beach in Los Angeles area. And I lost the chat here. Where's the chat? Let's bring it back here. What else is going on? Okay. Just Robert. Hey, Tom. Hey, buddy. Hey, Robert. I was just talking about you, Robert. Yeah. And Robert, you're the policeman, right? And you changed your name on here before. I remember I used to call you Huey. It's Huey? Anyways. Glad you're here, buddy. So what else? What's the plan? Is anybody working or bird dogging or looking to make some money over this week? Or are you going to relax and take some time off? It's very difficult for me to ever completely relax, because even when I go on vacation, I end up looking at the properties around me to buy. I can't help it. It's in my blood, and it should be in your blood. You want to. I used to joke with my ex. She'd say, basically, if my eyes are open, I'm working, right? Because I'm taking in everything. I'm looking at what's for sale, and I'm finding out what things are worth in any area that I go to. It's just math, and it's a fun thing to do. So, anyways, hey, look, I know it's getting near dinner time. Thanks for sharing, guys. Again, congratulations to Brian, Robert. Good to see you in here. Aslak, I don't know about the 40% capital gains that Biden, I know he's probably, listen, they always talk about it. They don't always do it. So I wouldn't worry about it too much at this point. Anyways, so, hey, everybody have a great spring break. I'll be in and out over this next week for sure. And we'll see you soon, and hit that subscribe button. And if you're new here, please follow me and go to FlipAnythingUSA.com. Get in my free webinar that I hold every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central. Had a great webinar last night. Met some really bright people. Got some new students, and I want to see more just like what I got. And you'll see. Go to the testimonials at FlipAnythingUSA. In fact, I'll show you that behind me right here. If you go in here, you'll see, you can just watch these testimonials. You'll see over here on the left. And, these are new millionaires, new real estate millionaires. These are people you could probably identify with. This gentleman's only 34 years old, and he's now has $3 million worth of property with about $1.7 million in equity, and about $150,000 a year of passive income coming from those investments. This gentleman here, Mr. Stizza, he basically just flipped 3 houses not long after he got in. And this gentleman here, $600,000 at that time, but he's over $1 million now. And this gentleman's up to $4 million in property, about $3 million equity, $1 million here, $500,000 here, $500,000 here, $1 million here, a couple $100,000 here. You know, this is the kind of things that can happen. That I know a lot of you can't relate to it, a lot of you can't believe it. I know a lot of you have thrown your money in kind of into the trash can with some people that make you feel jaded, and I understand that, and I'm sorry that happened, but that's not how it is. You just got to do your due diligence. You know, everybody, even if you do get taken advantage of and get in some crappy course and throw your money down the drain, what you have to understand is you probably didn't do your homework. You got to do your homework and take time to listen to who's talking to you and let them demonstrate to you that they really do have wealth. And if you don't make that, if you don't make that important, then it's probably never, it's not going to happen. So anyways, FlipAnythingUSA, again, please share, subscribe, and we'll see you soon.
Yo, stop and listen. Time is on a mission to eliminate all the snake oil and the fake gurus that fake y'all. He'll show you how to build an